Hi there, Mr. Ray here again, and what we're going to do is we are going to solve a quadratic, solving quadratics using the quadratic formula. What is the quadratic formula? This is the quadratic formula. It's very similar actually to what we did in the previous video of completing the square. So we're going to solve these quadratics using the quadratic formula. Some of these a is equal to 1 and some of them a is greater than 1. So let's go ahead and start it. Let's jump in, and the first one is going to be, the first one is going to be x squared minus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Well, this is simple, and actually you don't really need the quadratic formula, although we need to practice the quadratic formula. There is an easier way. Can you see the easier way? Yeah, you could factor this. You can factor it like that. Now, when I factor it, I have to remember that the middle term is the sum of the factors of c, 3 and 2, and there's two negatives, okay? Okay, but wait a minute. We want to practice using the quadratic formula. What you need to do is you need to recognize what a, b, and c are, okay? A, b, and c. And so a is equal to 1 from above, b is equal to -5, c is equal to 6. And we're simply going to put it into this formula. Put it into the formula. Now, what you usually want to check is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so b squared minus 4ac is called the discriminant. And if it's bigger than 0, we're going to get real answers. If it's negative, we're not going to get any real answers. So let's do this real quick. That's a -5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 6, right? Okay. And what we're going to get here is we're going to get a 25, and we're going to get minus a 24. That's equal to 1. So we're going to get some real answers. Well, let's use the whole formula. The whole formula is going to be -b, that's -5, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. So we're going to get -5 squared, we did this already, minus 4 times 1 times the 6. And that's going to be divided by 2 times the a, which is 1. Great. Now we're going to get 5 plus or minus the square root of 1. We already did that part. Divided by 2. That's going to equal 5 plus or minus 1 divided by 2. Oh, okay. Well, 5 plus 1 is 6. So we're going to get a 3, x equal 3. And then 5 minus 1 divided by 2 is going to give us 2. 3 and 2. So 3 and 2 are our answers. If we look back at this right here, when we graphed it, when we factored, we get the same answer. Okay? Now again, what you do here is you want to check the discriminant, b squared minus 4ac first. And then you're going to use that in the quadratic formula. If this is confusing, let me go over another problem here. Okay, we have x squared minus 6x plus 3 is equal to 0. And so what we want to do, the first step should always be the first step for all of these quadratics, is know what your a is, know what the b is, -6, and know what the c is, 3. 1, -6, and 3. Great. Second step is we're going to use the discriminant. You should get used to using what's called the discriminant. That's this part of the quadratic equation to see if you're going to get any answers. So I'm going to put, that's b squared minus 4ac. I'm going to put the b, the a, and the c into the discriminant. When I do that, I'm going to get a -6 squared minus 4 times a 1. A is 1, and c is 3. Okay? And so what I get here is I get a 36 minus a 12. Okay, now this is going to be 24. Good, this is a positive number. If the discriminant is more than 0 or equal to 0, we're going to get real answers. So now we already did the discriminant. So when we use the quadratic form, it's going to be a little bit easier. We need negative b, negative 6. We're just going to use this formula, plus or minus the square root of 24. I already figured that out. Divided by 2 times a, 2 times 1. There we go. Well, now we're going to have a 6 plus or minus the square root of 24. Do you know what the square root of 24 is? That is 2 root 6 divided by 2. Now, if you're confused about that, and you say, how did you get 2 root 6? Let me know. I'll do a whole video on taking square roots. But that's the square root of 24 is 2 root 6. Okay. Well, now we're going to simplify. 2 goes into 6 3 times, and this 2 cancels. So that's going to equal 3 plus or minus root 6. We get one answer, positive. Both are positive. 3 plus root 6, comma, 3 minus root 6. Okay, and both are positive because root 6 is smaller than 3. Okay? Okay, so sometimes you get irrational answers. This is what they call an irrational answer. Why is it irrational? It's because you have a square root that's not perfect, not a perfect square. Square root 6 is not a perfect square. Square root 9 is, square root 4 is, square root 25 is, but not square root 6. All right, next one, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. Well, what we want to do is we want to use the quadratic formula. What is that quadratic formula? Negative e plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. You need to memorize that. Good idea to memorize this as soon as you can. First, I'm going to use the discriminant, but first, I need to know a, b, and c. Okay? Now, I'm going to put it in the discriminant. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. I'm going to put that in. So we're going to get we're going to get 5, b is 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times a negative 3. Oh, we're going to get a positive, that's greater than 0. Great. So we have 25, and we're going to get plus 24 equal to 49. That's the discriminant. Ooh, that's going to be a perfect square also. So let's use the whole quadratic formula. We're going to put the 5 in, the b in, negative 5 plus or minus the square root. We already did the discriminant, 49, divided by 2 times 2. Ooh, so we get a negative 5 plus or minus 7 divided by 4. Okay, well, negative 5 plus 7 is 2 divided by 4. That's going to give me 1 over 2. Negative 5 minus 7 is going to be negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. And so we get these two solutions. All right. Now, okay, here's a bonus problem. We got to figure this out. We've got to solve. When we look at this, we can't factor. There's no factors of 5 that add up to 2. We could complete the square. That's why completing the square is really sometimes a useful thing. But the quickest method here is when you can't factor is to throw it into the quadratic formula. First, we're going to need to know what a is. A is 1, b is 2, c is 5. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so that's going to give me a 2 squared minus a 4 times a 1. Ooh, wait a minute. This is negative. So when we do this, what do we get? Well, we're going to get a 4 minus a 20, negative 16. That means you don't have real solutions. So there's no real solutions. But hold on. Some of you might be going on and using that negative 16. What do I mean? Well, I mean that when you use the quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, you can still put that in to get an I solution. What do I mean? Well, let's put the a, the b, and the c into this formula. When we do that, we're going to get negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times the c, which we already did that part, 5, okay, divided by 2 times 1. So we're going to get a negative 2 plus or minus square root negative 16 divided by 2. Well, there's no square root 16 unless you're doing imaginary numbers. And if you are doing imaginary numbers, what are you going to get? You're going to get a negative 2 plus or minus 4i. Okay, and if you don't know how to do that, I'll do a video on that. 4i divided by 2. The 2's cancel. You get negative 1. 2 goes into 2 and 2 goes into 4. Negative 1 plus or minus 2i. Okay, negative 1 plus 2i and negative 1 minus 2i. Well, hold on a second. Now, I know that you guys are probably going to have a question about this. Some of you are going to have a question. How can you take a square root of a negative number? Well, the square root of negative 1 is I. The square root of 16 is 4. That's what the square root of negative 16 is. You could split it up like that. So the square root of negative 1 is I. The square root of 16 is 4. Multiply together, it's 4i. That's how I got that. Okay, now, this was a short video, but hopefully it was useful. Remember to use the discriminant. Remember to use the quadratic formula. Remember to know A, B, and C. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to do a video on your question. Again, my name is Mr. Ray, and I will see you in the next video.